My name's Evan McGahey, and I directed most of this episode.
My name is Ty, and I played Teddy.
Hi, I'm Kara Ludke, and I play Nina Dunbar.
My name is Alex Diehl, and I played Jack Darnell in episode 302.
Episode 302, underINVOLVED, was my first writing endeavor on the show. I'd gotten a lot of story credits before, but I never actually penned one of my own, so that was a fun experience for me over the summer.
My main goal for this episode was to really establish the frat and sorority plot lines, make those worlds seem more realistic, and make the audience really believe that Frank and Teddy and Nina would want to join their respective DB fraternities or the DKM sorority.
A new part of the college experience that we start to look at in this episode is the life of a fraternity brother. We retroactively decided that, Seamus has been in a frat since season 1 because, he seems like the kind of guy who would be in a frat. When Frank and Teddy rush our fake fraternity called Delta Beta, look for the joke in there, it's pretty obvious, he turns out to be their recruitment chair, and they kind of have to report through him and go through him through the process of getting into the frat. So that leads to a lot of fun because, as we know from the other 2 seasons, Seamus tends to not like anyone.
It was Frank's idea initially, and Teddy wasn't 100% behind it until he found out that Nina was rushing the sister sorority of the fraternity that Frank was looking at. He kind of sabotages Frank's efforts to get into the other fraternities that maybe were a little bit better because he wants to make sure that he gets into the fraternity that's the brother fraternity of the sorority that Nina is in.
Nina goes through a transformation in episode 2. She loses the glasses. She becomes a sorority girl, maybe. We'll see, because there's some problems. Because Margaret wants her to become a sorority girl, but Mary doesn't. She wants to make Margaret happy, and she doesn't like Mary. And she fights back, which is not normal for Nina. Nina normally wouldn't have done that. She's normally shy and takes whatever. And is like, okay, fine, but she fights back in this episode. I think that changes her for the rest of the season also.
I think that Nina is a character that everyone should be cheering for because she's not exactly an underdog. She's just more of an outsider. And throughout season 2, we saw her grow more with the family of underGRAD, making friends, becoming closer with the main cast. But now we see her grow as a person. She's kind of decided that she wants to join a sorority. She wants to put herself out there. And it's really an act of want. And we get to see her pursue that. And it's just different.
This episode brings back a fun guest star from the first couple seasons, Mary. Margaret rushed under her in season 1, and now we're bringing her back in that same role, but now she's working alongside Margaret. And she rules the sorority with an iron fist, and honestly, watching the scenes with her, it's kind of terrifying. We also pick up where season 2 left off with the story about Jack and Chloe and Ash and the Christian Service Organization, since they, kind of impeached Ben from leadership in the club.
This is the very beginning of what we see of the CSO this season, and Chloe's the new president. I continue on as VP. Our membership is still really down, but there's one member who in particular has a lot of ideas about how to progress the CSO. But Chloe kind of feels like it's overstepping the boundaries, whereas I recognize the need that we need to change something, and I try to reformat his arguments in a way that maybe will be more productive.
In this season, we've bumped the dynamic duo that is Frank and Teddy, played by Brandon Rashal and Ty Sheedlo. We've bumped them up to full cast status. In season 2, they were just, kind of comic relief duo for part of the season. But now that, we're trying to flesh them out and, give them some more life to their characters, I had to actually give the 2 of them some dramatic beats this time around, which was very interesting, trying to figure out what made these 2 relatively one-sided characters in season 2 tick. Some of the ways that we accomplished adding that drama to the aspects of their lives in this episode is the very strong bromance between the 2 of them kind of comes into jeopardy through the stresses of rushing this frat, and the differences between the 2 of them start to come out, and you're kind of wondering the whole time whether or not it's going to be able to survive this process.
I really liked directing Ty and Brandon because they had, I think, the funniest plot line. And it's just really fun to see the interaction between those 2 because it's really strong. They got a nice bromance going, and it was just really funny. My favorite scene was this one part of the montage scene where all the frat guys are about to throw water balloons at random passerbys. It happens to be Jack and Ash, but they don't know that. And there are these bike racks, and they pop up behind the bike racks, and they pop back down. And then it cuts to them at the next subsequent bike racks. So it looks like they're whack-a-moles kind of, and they go closer and closer and closer, and then they throw the water balloons. And I just thought that was really funny.
There's some fun water balloon fighting in 302. I also dress up in a silly costume. There's just a lot of hijinks, you know, poking fun at, you know, sorority and fraternity life.
One of my other favorite scenes is in the sorority plotline, where we have the senior sorority members on one side of the table, Margaret on the other, and then we have Mary just in the middle on a little podium. And it's just a really cool dynamic because you see literally the divide between who likes Nina and who doesn't. And it's a really great dynamic, especially between Mary and Margaret, because the actors Ellie and Annie are really great friends in real life, and it's just really funny to see them act really antagonistic towards each other on camera.
I like the scene where Nina gets in a fight with Mary. She approaches her and stuff goes down.
My favorite scene to shoot was definitely part of the montage scene. It was when me and Ash are trying to get recruits. So he's going around, I think he's basically chasing someone with a flyer, trying to get her to take it, and she's not being receptive, and I just jump out and I leap at her and I chase her like a wild animal. It was a lot of fun.
By the end of the episode, I'm not going to say who gets in and who doesn't get into the houses, but Mary and Margaret have definitely acknowledged the fact that there's a bit of a difference in ideology between the two of them, and by the end of it, it's very apparent that the two of them are not really going to work as fellow sorority officers. So hopefully you like the conflict between the two of them, because that's going to last for a lot of the season, and it goes to some pretty cool places.
It was a lot of fun to film, and a lot of great stuff going on with all the characters, and I really enjoyed it, and I hope the viewers do too.
For my character, it changes Nina altogether. Most of the rest of the storylines for the season are formed from this one.
In season 3, Jack is gonna sort of become more of a part of this ensemble, like this family, kind of this undergrad family. I think in season 2, he was struggling with a lot of his own issues, and it sort of kept him apart. He sort of isolated himself, but I think that this season, he's starting to chill out and really try to become a part of this family.
I think what people should look forward to most watching 302 is really see the beginning of an overarching storyline. The frat and sorority are going to be overarching themes that we really haven't seen before in undergrad. It was very episodic the first couple seasons, and now we have something that every episode you learn a little bit more about the world, and I think that that's a nice thing to have.